Hey Hollywood, can I get some movies with some people in it? Now available in paperback and e-readers. Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. I'm a little tired of these superhero movies, and I'd love to see a movie with some people in it. Now, I never thought as a comic fan who has been loving comics ever since I was 4 years old, I would be saying something like this, but as a person who really loves to see movies about the human condition, I really would love to see some movies with some people in it for once. Now, when it comes to Hollywood, over the last 35 years, since Batman 1989 became a blockbuster at the box office, Hollywood has been heavily focused on making superhero movies, and as they've been focused on making these superhero movies, they've basically given up on making any sort of film regarding people and the human condition. And at this point, I'm basically really tired of these superhero movies, and I'm tired of these superhero movies because I really want to see some stories that really explore people and the human condition. These were the kind of films that we used to get before Hollywood basically got greedy as related to box office and just got caught up in a bad case of tunnel vision. Now, I was watching some movies on Tubi, and as I was watching these movies on Tubi, such as About Last Night and St. Elmo's Fire and Adventures in Babysitting, I really started to miss movies about people, and I really missed them because as a kid who was growing up in the 80s, I used to watch a lot of movies with people in them, and as I got older, I started to really appreciate films that really explored people and the human condition. Films like Sunset Boulevard, films like Marty, and many others. And it seems like Hollywood no longer makes movies about people because it seems like today's executives are so caught up in trying to get big box office, they've really forgotten what really resonates with audiences as related to the medium of film. Now, the medium of film has always been a medium that has always looked to tell stories about people and tell us the story of those people and why we should get to know them, why we should care about them because their experiences relate to ours. But I really don't see that with today's modern cinema. No, what I see with today's modern cinema is that it's become completely dehumanized and we've lost all of the humanity as related to producing films. And as we've lost our humanity as related to producing films, and these studios have just got caught up in looking to commodify everything, we've really lost the whole commentary on humanity that was used to be expressed in film. And these days, because so many Hollywood executives are obsessed with box office, they've gotten this horrible case of tunnel vision. And as they've gotten this horrible case of tunnel vision, what they have focused on primarily is making one superhero movie or one blockbuster act after the next. And instead of us getting those stories that really showed us life as related to people, what we're getting is just this really canned, commercialized product that basically feels more like something that comes off an assembly line, similar to what we get at the General Motors plant back in the 1980s with the GM X-Body platform, where GM was producing Chevrolet Citations, Pontiac Phoenixes, Oldsmobile Forenzas, and Buick Skylarks, and producing them on an assembly line as basically cheap disposable transportation that basically took people from A to B but had such poor quality control issues that they basically wound up alienating the customer base and leading to them looking to go to imports. And the same thing is happening here in Hollywood as related to its entertainment. They're just rolling product off an assembly line, and many of these superhero movies and big budget movies basically feel like the same thing and the same story cut and pasted over and over again. And the quality has basically declined in terms of story, in that we're no longer getting characters who are human beings that we can connect with like we got in 2008's Iron Man and Captain America the First Avenger, where we got really well fleshed out multi-dimensional characters. No, what we're getting now is like the GM X-Body, a pale caricature of an automobile, a pale caricature of an automobile with no heart and no soul. And the same thing is happening with film. These films are basically coming across an assembly line with no heart and no soul, a weak story that overcompensates for its weak story with these CGI special effects. And as a result, instead of us getting a rich viewing experience as related to film that explores the human condition, what we're getting at the theaters these days is a bland series of generic films that basically move from one movie to the next, interconnected into a so-called cinematic universe, a cinematic universe that basically has taken us away from the real world of people, taken us away from the real world of people, and taken us away from a world where we can see a world of different people and different experiences and get a richer picture of life. That's sadly what has happened in the entertainment industry in Hollywood overall. It has just basically become one big factory for making one superhero movie after the next, or one big budget animated movie, or one big budget action movie, and movies about people basically have left the entire whole theater process and really taken away from the overall cinematic experience. Because again, when it comes to films, films are supposed to be stories about people, not stories about other things. It's supposed to be a place where we can get to see a snapshot of life, a snapshot of how people lived, and really get to understand the motivations of that person that leads to whatever happens in their story, to lead to them, again, either getting what they want or not getting what they want. But we're supposed to grow from watching that experience, and that's something we're not really getting from today's modern films, because today's modern films have basically taken people out of the process, taken people out of the story, and as people have been taken out of the story, sadly what has happened is that the movie-going experience is not something that everybody can enjoy anymore. No, people can't really enjoy movies anymore because people have been taken out of the entire movie process. And that's why I say I really miss movies with people in them. I really miss movies where we got to see people exploring the human condition, people exploring humanity, people exploring how we think and behave, because it's those movies that really make us think about our lives and make us think about how we live in this world and gives us some perspective on life. I mean, it's those kinds of films that really resonate with people. I mean, I, again, miss those kinds of movies. I mean, sitting there watching Tubi, it was really great to see a movie with people like About Last Night, or a movie like St. Elmo's Fire, or a movie like Marty or Sunset Boulevard. I mean, these were really great movies about people, and really great movies that gave us that snapshot of life, gave us the snapshot of life that showed us the world of people. And sadly, what I'm seeing for the decades of the 2010s and the 2020s is we're moving away from movies about people and moving away from movies about people because people in Hollywood are so greedy for box office and so caught up with numbers as related to box office. Yeah, they made $1 billion on Avengers Endgame, and they made $1 billion on Black Panther, but the sad thing is we didn't get any good movies about people in this period. And when we look at this period of the 2010s and the 2020s, we're not really going to have that snapshot of life the way we did in the 80s or the 90s. I mean, when you think about the 80s, you think about many of the John Hughes movies, you think about movies like Working Girl, you think about movies like many of the other movies out there, like Moonstruck and many other movies that really just showed you what life was like. And when you think about the 90s, you think about American Pie, you think about Clueless, you think about many great 90s movies such as Indecent Proposal. Well, that's not really a great one, that's Indecent Proposal, but the whole thing is that there were movies about people, and those movies gave you a picture of what life was like at that time. And we're not really getting that when I look at the 2020s. I mean, the 2020s, again, when you look at the movies, almost all of them superhero, almost all of them big budget, all of them almost complete. Again, they're not really, they're just escapism for a niche, but they really don't, there's not really anything there that any regular average person can identify with. And this is one of the reasons why Hollywood is having a problem at the box office. One of the reasons why Hollywood is having a problem at the box office is because they've basically are not making movies for regular everyday people, and they're not making movies about everyday life that people can relate to. I mean, people want movies about people, but if there's no movies about people, people have no incentive to go to the theater and spend money on a ticket. No, they don't have reasons to go to spend money on a ticket if there's no movies about people there. And that's why you don't see the studios doing well like they used to, because most of their money was made on films like Pretty Woman and Ghost and all sorts of different genres of film. I mean, we have gone from making movies in diverse genres like romance and dramas and all sorts of comedy dramas. I mean, we've gone from making those type of films to just whole tunnel focus on action and superheroes and sometimes animated movies, and that's a very limited palette as related to creativity, a limited palette as related to imagination. And I'd like to think we could do more kinds of stories, because as a publisher of SJS Direct, I always try to do unique and diverse stories, because I want to see people to see a larger picture of life. I just don't want it to just be like things like, oh, just fantasy stories. I want to also do stories about people, like I did with books like The Thetas or Spellbound or Spinsterella or Recipe for Success. And as I've been writing this Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer, it's really made me really think about just, again, exploring more stories about people, because the core of what really resonates with people are people you can identify with and relate to. And that's one of the things that, again, I believe is Hollywood is having a problem. Nobody relates to just superheroes. There are people who want to talk to real people and see real people on screen, and they want to watch something with a person who's dealing what they're dealing with. I mean, this is what people want, but the studios just don't want to give anything to anyone because they want to get the money from the blockbusters, but the blockbusters are basically starting to decline, and they're starting to decline because when it comes to the superhero movie, it's basically the same thing every day, and like the GM X bodies, it basically is something that is starting to show that it's not really as good as people thought it was. No, like the GM X bodies, it's turning out to be a very defective formula. A defective formula that's basically putting the studios on the road to bankruptcy. Now, I hear some people want to argue and say, oh, it's not too many superhero movies, there's too many bad superhero movies. Well, I have to say that people really want to see some stories about some people, because even a comic fan like myself, it just becomes oversaturated and you just become overwhelmed. Yeah, I like superhero movies, but I want to see some movies about some people. I really want to see some movies about some people. I really want to explore more of the human condition and explore more of people, of humanity in film. And I believe that we really are missing out on an opportunity to explore making a commentary on life in the 21st century and the lives of people. That's what we're really missing with film. Now, some of these art house crap movies, they try to do this, but it doesn't resonate with people like a just standard film, and we really need to get back on that track. I mean, if you want to save the medium of film really needs to be about people again, and really needs to get back to exploring people, because that's how we make many of the classics, the that were great films that people remember from generation to generation. I mean, those films resonate with people because it's just something everybody knows or everybody has lived, and we're missing out on all of those kind of experiences because everybody's caught up in Hollywood with being a bean counter, looking to make big money, but you're not making money because you're not making films about people, and you have to make films about people. And again, I wonder, hey, Hollywood, where are the movies about people? Because I'm really tired of seeing guys in capes and tights. And there's more to life than capes and tights, and I really would like to see some stories about people and the human condition. Now, if you want to pick up some of my action-packed stories on the SJS Direct imprint, you can find many of those books that explore people, such as Spellbound, The Legendary Mad Matilda and Spinsterella, and A Recipe for Success and the Thetas. Those are just some of the books that explore people in the SJS Direct imprint. And I also have some fantasy where I try to explore the human condition, like The Temptation of John Haynes and other books. And you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me make some more videos talking about Hollywood and the entertainment industry, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella. Discover the dark side of love in this goth and lovely romance with Spinsterella. Get Spinsterella in paperback and e-readers at your favorite online bookseller today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, 1987. Learn lessons about life and teenage love in the 1980s in this coming-of-age John Haynes story. Get your copy of John Haynes 1987 in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.